Hello friends, welcome to RHCSA training brought to you by skillpedia.co, the portal for online learning and teaching. Explore the courses, course contents and the technologies into different categories like cloud computing, databases, Linux, core technologies, DevOps and more. So let's get started without wasting time. 6. Virtualization with KVM. Part 2, we already have done part 1. This is part 2 wherein we have 6 lectures. Session 6 is for virtualization with KVM, that is this session. After that we have configuring virtual networking, then automated installation options using Kickstart, then administration with SSH and SCP, and then command line tools. So these are the 5 lectures in part 2. Agenda of this session 6 is virtualization overview, implementation of virtual machine monitors, VMM, different type of hypervisor like type 0 hypervisors, type 1 hypervisor, type 2 hypervisors, paravirtualization, then overview of KVM, supported hardware, required packages, libvirt, virs overview, QEMU and virch.io. So these are the topics we are going to discuss in this session. Virtualization overview. The fundamental idea about virtualization is abstract hardware of a single computer into different execution environments. That is the core thing. It is similar to layered approach, but layer create virtual systems or virtual machines on which operating system or application can run. The components of virtualizations are host, which basically is the underlying hardware system, virtual machine manager or the hypervisor, which creates and run virtual machines by providing interface that is identical to the host. Of course there is an exception, which is paravirtualization, and guests are the processes provided with a virtual copy of the host, usually an operating system. This is the system models in order to understand this concept. So non-virtual machines have hardware and the kernel and the processes. In virtual machine we have hardware, we have virtual machine manager, on the top of which we create virtual machine VM1, VM2 virtual machines, and each one of them can have individual kernel, and then we run processes on them. Implementation of virtual machine managers by means of hypervisor. There are different type of hypervisors, like type 0 hypervisor. It is a hardware based solution that provide support for virtual machine creation and management via firmware. For example, IBM, LPARS and Oracle LDOMS. These are type 0 hypervisors. Then we have type 1 hypervisor. They are operating system like software that including like VMware, ASX and Citrix Xen Server. They include general purpose operating system as well as virtual machine monitor functions or virtual machine manager functions. Hyper-V and KVM also falls into this category. Hyper-V, which is from Windows, KVM, which is from Linux. Then we have type 2 hypervisors. Type 2 hypervisors, basically they are independent software which run on the top of an operating system but provide VMM features to guest operating systems. Example is Oracle VM VirtualBox and VMware Workstation. They are type 2 hypervisors. Then we have another concept called paravirtualization, where guest operating system is modified to work with virtual machine manager to optimize the performance. We also have something called programming environment virtualization, where we have virtual machine managers do not virtualize real hardware, but instead they create an optimized virtual system like Oracle Java and Microsoft.NET. They create JVM. Then we have emulators. Emulators allow applications written for one hardware environment to run on very different hardware environment, such as a different type of CPU. Then we have application environments or application contentment. It's not really virtualization at all, but rather provide virtualization like features by segregating applications from operating system, making them more secure, manageable. which includes Oracle Solaris Jones and AIX WPARS. So type 0 hypervisor. Type 0 hypervisor, we have firmware or hypervisor directly in the form of hardware. Then we have CPUs, which have CPUs and the memory, and we have guest operating system on the top of that. So that's how type 0 hypervisor works. Then here also we can have multiple, like guest 4, so multiple guests are running on type 0 hypervisor. Then type 1 hypervisor, in detail let's understand this. It's commonly found in company data centers. The data center managers control and manage operating systems by controlling the type 1 hypervisor. Consolidation of multiple operating systems and apps onto less hardware, and move guests between systems to balance the performance for load balancing, snapshots and cloning are the features in type 1 hypervisor. There is a special purpose operating system that run natively on the hardware. Rather than providing system calls interface, it create, run and manage the guest operating systems. Can run on type 0 hypervisor, but that's not other type, not on other type of this. It run in kernel mode. Guests generally don't know that they are running in a virtual machine. Also provide other traditional operating system features, services like CPU and memory management. The type of virtual machines, type 1 hypervisor. Other variation is a general purpose operating system that also provide VMM functionality. Red Hat Enterprise Linux with KVM, Windows Hyper-V, Oracle Solaris. These are all examples of type 1 hypervisor. They perform normal duties as well as virtual machine manager duties, typically less feature rich than dedicated type 1 hypervisor. In many ways, treat guest operating system as just another process. In order to continue, let's start a virtual machine creation process. By the time we finish this lecture, the machine will be ready, and then we'll be able to play with that machine. So I'm starting a virtual machine manager or virtual machine manager, which I'm discussing right now. I'm terminating all my machines, the machine which I have, and I'll show you so that I can explain the features. So let me just delete all these machines. Now if I go into the properties or the details of this, you can see this is my basic detail QEMU, that is a QEMU KVM, libvirt URL for this QEMU : system which I'll be using, and then virtual network I have default which I'll be using, for which I have XML file. Very interesting is this line. I'll explain this line, why I added this line. Then we have storage, the default storage options available. I created the local storage pool, GNOME boxes and VM images. These are two additional storage options I created. I'll explain these later on. But let's launch a machine right now. In order to create the machine, we have multiple options. I'm going to demonstrate the virtual machine with PXE boot so that it performs the automated installation. I have set up the environment, which I'll explain obviously that how to set up the PXE boot environment. So click on next, and here I'm going to select CentOS 8 operating system, forward. I'm going to specify 3 GB of RAM, because 2 GB, less than 2 GB PXE boot will not work. And that's the very interesting point to note, very interesting research finding. And it is officially when you get error like no space left on the drive when you launch your virtual machine using PXE boot, that means your memory is less than 2 GB. You must give at least 2 GB of RAM in order to launch virtual machine using this PXE boot. And I start, this is going to be my test 1 machine. So let me create the test 1 machine. Networking selection, default is net as I said, and it will start the virtual machine creation. Everything will happen automatically. Very interestingly, I'm just going to decide what am I going to select, because I have 2 options for installation here. Let me show you that. So machine will boot up, automatic installation will happen, fully automated installation will happen, and the virtual machine will be up and running by the time I come back. So there are two options I created, PXE boot, brought to you by Skillpedia. The second option I'm selecting, install CentOS 8 64-bit architecture from web server and kickstart file. This is what I'm going to start, and you will see the magic happening. I'll show you the real installation also right now. And remember, I have configured VNC server, so my display, the GUI display will come on VNC server. I'll connect and show you the VNC server part also. So installation started. So fully automated installation is going on, and now you will in the meanwhile, let me launch my VNC's viewer, because that will be required in order to say this. So here I'll show you the VNC IP address. The moment I see that, I will be using that IP address. I can see the IP address 192.168.120.184. So let me select that 184 IP address. 184:1 and connect. It is asking me the password. I know the password I gave you in my PXE boot, and see the automated installation is going on. I can minimize this and my installation is started. In fact, I can start another virtual machine creation, and let me launch another machine with local disk installation so that I can show you how to create machines. And here I'm selecting my DVD, which is 8.2 version, stored under var libvirt boot. Under that I have this DVD, and let me start another machine. In this machine I can use 1500 MB of RAM, that is 1.5 GB, and 10 GB space is good because I'm going to have minimum installation on this. So, and this is going to be my test 2 machine. So let me start that also. That's how easy it is. I already have tested this media, so I don't need to test this, and I can start installation of CentOS 8, and I'm launching this using this. Third, I will demonstrate using third machine I will create using the command line, so with different ways. And fourth machine, I am going to start all the 4 machine installation parallelly, and then I will show you, by the time I complete the lecture, I'll show you how to manage these machines, how to create clones and virtual machine manager completely. So let it start. And meanwhile, I'll show you the interesting part, which is a cockpit new feature. I have already installed the cockpit and enabled the service. So let me launch a virtual machine through cockpit also. And server.example.com, port number 9090. Here I am going to log in as root user, and I'll show you the virtual machines, and I'll create a virtual machine using cockpit also. I'll show you that also. That's a browser based utility, excellent feature in CentOS 8. See, here you can see the virtual machines, the 2 machines you can see right now running. And so let's create a new machine here. This is going to be my test 3 machine. Test 3. Download operating system, no, I want to use local install media. Let me select the media, which is under var lib libvirt, var libvirt. Let me search, and then under boot, that's the image identified. Storage pool, create new storage pool. Size is 10 GB, good. Memory I want to keep, let me keep 2 GB of 1 GB is good enough because I don't want to minimum. And then create immediately start the virtual machine. Choose the operating system. Of course I have to specify CentOS 8. I missed that. So and create new volume, so everything will be taken care. libvirt boot, the DVD is need to be selected, and then 1.5 GB is minimum requirement, so let's select that 1.5 GB directly by typing that 1.5 GB. 1 second, 1.5 GB. Let me select 1500 MB here, 1500 MB, and that's good enough. 10 GB is space. In fact, if I select 70, then good, and create the machine. So it will start my third machine directly through cockpit, and I can access that here, and you see I'm able to see the options here, the console part. Enter, and this is starting. So my third machine is starting. Let's go to the second machine. This is launched here. So this is my test 2 machine. I launched directly from here. So server with GUI, no, I want minimum install for the demo purpose only. Installation media, let me select the hard disk, and begin installation. Root password, Red Hat. I want to keep it simple, and user creation I don't want. So this installation started successfully. This is my first machine. Let's look at that second machine, which was started from the terminal. Let's look at the VNC viewer. That installation is going on. So this is our first machine, test 1, installation going on. This is test 1. Then we have this also. Let's start this also. So I started very quickly. I started 3 machine creation in so fast manner. No server with GUI, just for the testing purpose. So let's keep it minimum. Begin installation. Root password. What all settings I have done, I will demonstrate you. I'll show you those settings also. How I created this PXE boot, how I created the advanced installation option, automated installation. You will watch that magic. But right now we need at least 2-3 machines before we proceed, before we complete the session, so that we can manage, and I can show you these 3 machines which I'm right now working on. So I started 3 machines in 3 different ways. One with PXE boot, second with the from the CD, and third from the cockpit, and fourth, in fact, let's start the fourth one also. Fourth from the command line. Let me start fourth one from the command line. I already have that file, so let me grab that. Grab virt-install. So this is the file. Let me use this, and which will launch my fourth machine. So just change the name. So you see here I'm using 10 GB, and this is going to be my test 4 machine. The machine name is test 4. The 4 machines are going on parallelly. So test 4, bridge, virtual CPU 1, disk, what will be created, size 10 GB, location is going to be from the HTTP server, extra argument, take the IP from the DHCP server, boot device is link, dev offers no mount, and this will start my fourth machine. So this is from the command line. I'll explain this command line creation. So you see this virt install, network bridge, machine test 4, virtual CPU 1, disk size, and this is going to start the next installation of my second machine. So let's start. And now you have seen all 4 different type of installations. Now it will be easier for you to understand. Type 1 hypervisor, another variation, is the general purpose operating system that also provide virtual machine manager functionality. Red Hat Enterprise Linux with KVM, Windows with Hyper-V, Oracle Solaris, all these are type 1 hypervisors. They perform normal duties as well as virtual machine manager. As you have seen, my machine is running on CentOS 8, and I have virtual machine manager, virt installation, virtual machine manager installed on this machine, and I have started 4 different virtual machines on the same system. typically less feature rich than dedicated type 1 hypervisors. So this is the machine fourth going on. See the command line part which I started. So let's finish that. The fourth machine which I started from the command line, this is that machine. So let it come back, no problem, we'll see that. So type 2 hypervisors, less interesting from operating system perspective, very little operating system involvement in virtualization. Virtual machine manager is simply another process run and managed by host. But then they tend to have poor performance, overall performance, because they can't take advantage of some hardware features, but also benefit because they require no changes to the host operating system. Let me tell you, this is a perfect example, perfect use case when you are working as a developer or you are testing other operating system and the functionalities. Particularly if I give my own examples, I use this feature in every training, whether I am delivering OpenShift training, whether I am delivering cloud training, whether I'm delivering normal networking related assignments. So because I need multiple operating system and multiple machines without affecting my existing operating system. So this is a perfect use case when I deliver OpenStack cloud training. I use this Oracle VirtualBox. Oracle VirtualBox is perfect example of type 2 hypervisor, very useful when you are working as a development or as a training and learning point of view, because then you can screw up your machine, back up the machine, take backup and restore it back. So you can destroy, you can create, and without affecting your existing operating system and existing applications. That's the best thing about it. So you could have type 2 hypervisor on a native host, run multiple guests, all on standard host operating systems such as Windows, Linux and Mac. Yes, I use it on Windows, I use it on Linux. I have that Oracle VirtualBox installed even on this CentOS 8 machine. Types of virtual machine managers, virtual machines. Para-virtualization is another use case. Does not fit into the definition of virtualization, to be precise. Virtual machine manager not presenting an exact duplication of underlying hardware. VMM provides services that guest must be modified to use. Leads to increased performance, less needed as hardware support for virtual machines grows. Yes, Zen is the leader in para-virtualization space. Adds several techniques: clean and simple device abstractions, efficient input-output, and good communication between guest and a VMM without device I/O. That was the brief overview of virtualization. Brief idea about the different type of hypervisors, different type of virtualizations, the core concept of virtualizations. Our emphasis for RHCSA starts from this topic, KVM, because in RHCSA and RHCE, no question you can expect from the different type of hypervisors or different type of virtualization. That was a theoretical knowledge, basic knowledge, which was obviously mandatory to have. KVM, that is kernel based virtual machine. KVM, a kernel module that turns Linux into hypervisor, that allows a user space program access to hardware virtualization features of Intel and AMD processors. With KVM kernel modules, virtual machines run as ordinary user space processes. KVM uses QEMU for I/O hardware emulation. QEMU can emulate a variety of guest processes on host processors, and it is managed through libvirt API and tools. Created by Coraminet, bought by Red Hat in 2008. It supports x86, 32-bit and 64-bit. Starting CentOS 7, starting CentOS 8, we use we don't have 32-bit architecture of CentOS 7 and CentOS 8. 32-bit architecture was available up to CentOS 6, but then KVM was there. S390 and PowerPC, included in Linux kernel since 2.6.20. It needs a CPU for virtualization extension. Why the red color? Why bold? Why so much emphasis on this line? Yes, that needs to be understood. If you are running KVM, your virtualization must be enabled in BIOS setup. If you're using a laptop, let's say Lenovo or Dell or HP, you must enable virtualization in your BIOS advanced configuration. That you can do by rebooting your machine, pressing F2 or F12 or F10 or Dell key depending on your make and model of the laptop or desktop, and then go to the BIOS setting, go to advanced settings. In the under configuration, you will find something like Intel VT technology disabled or Intel virtualization disabled. You need to enable that. Each VM is a process, each virtual CPU is thread, and it is open source. What are the features of KVM? CPU and memory over commit. What does it mean? It means if I have a 4 GB RAM allocated to each one of these machines, which I just started, I have 4 machines which I started, assuming that I given 4 GB RAM to each one of them, which means I have totally given 16 GB, which is actually the total RAM of my laptop. And can I do that? Answer is yes. How it works? Because it assumes that whatever RAM you are allocating to the virtual machine or the guest machine, they are not going to use that memory to the fullest. Some of them may be using 1 GB, some of them might be using even 1500 MB, some of them may go up to 4 GB. Therefore, overall uses of all the 4 machines may be around 5 GB or 10 GB, 6 GB, 7 GB. So I have sufficient RAM. So that is the reason this is the feature is CPU and memory over commit. High performance paravirtual input output, hot plug CPU block network interface cards, live migrations from one hypervisor to another hypervisor, and very interesting feature is SPICE. The SPICE is open source solution for remote access to virtual machine in a seamless way. So you can play videos, record audio, share sub devices and share folder without complications. This is what you have seen. I just launched that. Now you visualize why I give the demonstration during that, so that I can explain these features and you correlate that with the demonstration I gave. Then we have NUMA, which is non-uniform memory access. The system memory is divided into zones called nodes, which are allocated to particular CPU or sockets. Access to memory that is local to a CPU is faster than memory connected to remote CPU on that system. Then there's something very interesting feature is called memory page sharing, MPS, implemented in loadable kernel modules. Kernel same page merging, KSM is the feature name. What does it mean? It means kernel will scan memory for virtual machines, look for identical pages and merge these identical pages. That essentially means only store one copy of the shared memory. If the guest changes the page, it gets its own private copy. We also call it as copy on write. It leads to significant hardware saving and better consolidation ratio. It allows more virtual machines to run per host. This is how it works. Hypervisor, physical memory. Now this is the page which is being used by, let's say, multiple guests. This is guest 1, this is guest 2, guest 3. Now if they all are using it, suppose guest 1 wants to write that, so it will get its own separate copy. Till then they use the same memory page, even if even the data is same, so they are going to use the same memory page. If any guest wants to write it, they will get its own copy. As long as the read-only requirement is there, as long as they share the data, they share the same page in the memory. Then something called thin provisioning. Allocate storage only when needing. That is because of which I said that we can do this over commit. Oversubscribed storage is possible. It improves the storage utilization, reduced storage cost. It works with NFS, iSCSI and Fiber Channel, both of them. So KVM guest are processes. Just like your images, Red Hat Linux kernel 6 or 7 or 8 kernel, then virtual machine, web virtual machine for sales, virtual machine for payroll. Suppose this snag, this machine, this guest machine develops some snag. What will happen? This will be isolated. So this will be isolated, and that will not have any effect whatsoever on the sales and the payroll guest machines. Supported hardware for KVM: 160 logical CPU, 4096 theoretical maximum, 2 terabyte of RAM, 64-bit terabyte theoretical maximum, 64 virtual CPUs, 512 GB RAM, that is for guest. Support latest silicon virtualization technology based on latest Intel 8 kernel, which is 4.18, I believe. Required packages: QEMU KVM, it is open source virtualizer that provide hardware emulator for KVM. QEMU IMG provide, this package provide a command line tool for manipulating disk images. We are going to look at these packages also. libvirt, it includes the tools to interact with the virtualization capabilities of your operating system. libvirt Python 3 in CentOS 8 contains module that permit applications written in Python to use the interface supplied by libvirt. libguest FS tools, this miscellaneous system administration command line tools for virtual machines, and virt install is the command which I used to launch my machine from the command line, if you remember. So this offers command line utilities for virtual machine administration. So command dnf or yum, install, and the package names. This install all the packages. The libvirt overview is a virtualization API toolkit to interact with virtualization layer, written in C language. Has bindings for common language like Python, Ruby, Perl, PHP, Java. It supports AMQP via libvirt QPID, provides management of virtual machines, virtual networks, storage, and suspend and resume of machine support. So to get started with it, systemctl, start libvirtd and enable libvirtd, and you are good to go. Some terminologies before we actually get into the demonstration. Physical machine is called the node. Hypervisor, it is a software layer that allows node to run virtual machines. Domain is an instance or guest or a virtual machine running on the hypervisor. Very important, because we are going to use the term domain in our training, in our session coming up ahead. Architecture of libvirt, it runs in a user space. User space basically is what? Is a memory area allocated for kernel, and the system call made to kernel is clone. So when you run this user space tool, Virsh or Virsh Viewer or Virt Manager, all of them use libvirt to make API calls to the daemon, which is libvirtd, and then they use this domain 0 is your hypervisor, domain U is the guest machine. So hypervisor is basically domain 0, and the virtual machine or the guest machine is domain user. Whether you are using Xen or KVM or QEMU, all interact with the libvirt. So underlying library, underlying daemon process is libvirtd, and then the user space tools. So these tools use these libvirt to make API calls to the daemon process and to manage the processes in the kernel. Virsh overview is a command line for libvirt. Advantage, it enables scripting. libvirtd must be running. Most commands require root privileges. Usage is virsh followed by command, domain ID, and the options. Like virsh connect QEMU system, it will connect. Connect to hypervisor on remote system over SSH, like virsh -c QEMU plus SSH root at server.example.com/system. It will connect to the system. So this is a way to connect remotely. What am I trying to say here is, I am saying even if it is remote location, you can directly connect to the hypervisor if you have access, because QEMU access it through SSH. So you directly connect to the remote machine. Virsh will give you access to that machine remotely. Storage, it defines storage pools, local file systems, directory based iSCSI, NFS, LVM, physical disk, or multipath. Whatever way you want, you can create the storage. Let's create an example storage pools, and let's do that. First, let's see the status of our virtual machines. So this is this is the machine 4 which we started using the command line. So let's start this also. Minimum install. This is 4th machine, and by the time I believe the other 3 machines might be almost ready. Let's see. Once I finish this installation, let it continue. Let's go to that this machine part. Oh, this is done. So this machine which I started with the PXE boot is ready. It's coming up. Then what about the second one? Test 1, test 2, test 3. Let's open the test 2 machine. This is also ready. Great. So the second machine is also ready. Let's open the third machine. It's going on. Yeah, this is also complete. Third machine is also complete. So all machines are ready. So this is shutting down. Test 2, test 3, and test 4 just started. So we have 3 machines ready. So they are starting now. All the 3 machines are coming up. Now we can go and check on that console also. From here also we can check all the machines. Test 1, you can see from here. Click on console and you will see the remote launch viewer, and it will launch the viewer, and you can see the machine directly from this viewer. That's very interesting thing. You can watch the machine from anywhere. Just wait, it'll come up. If you want, you can launch it through VNC viewer also. There are multiple options: serial console or graphical desktop. Now let's look at some command lines options. All the machines are coming up. Good. So we are going to create this dir pool. I'll show you this directory. So the machine was ready. Now I can press. Let me open another tab, not to disturb this tab. Okay. First, let's see systemctl status libvirtd. This is show the process is running. Now let's see the XML file which I created. To create the storage pool, so type is directory, name is local storage, and target is /vms. This is the directory which I created, and the storage pool was initialized. Now let me show you the command which I used for this purpose to create the storage pool from this directory. Better to use grep command, because there is no point using the same command again. dir underscore. So this is how you define virsh pool define storage pool. To show you, I'll create another one. So let's create mkdir /vms1. Alright, and I'm going to change that in storage pool local storage 1. I'm doing it right now, and then I'm going to change the name of the directory here, storage pool 1, and save. And now I can use the same command to launch another storage pool, and this will create another pool. So storage pool 1 defined, and you can specify virsh command and see the list. So let's use grep command to see other list grep virsh, because there are a lot of command I used. So see, this is the first thing I defined. Then this is the pool list first, then I'll show you the pool list. Let's see first the list of pools which I created. Now you see the local storage pool is active. No, it is not active. And then we need to first start the pool, and the pool name is storage 1. Let's start it, and now see, you see the local storage pool 1 is available now. And then you can start the pool. See where's the pool define, we have done local pool start. Yes, now you can see the pool, how to create it and how to start it and how to enable it. You can define auto start also. Alright, let me grab that command also, pool grep. So here you can specify starting the pool, defining. Oh, I auto start I did not specify, no problem. So these are the commands which I was talking about, which are there in this presentation, in this slide. So I created this storage pool XML file, and then I use this command virsh pool define, the directory, the file name, XML file name, and we got this message, pool storage, local storage defined from dir pool.xml. and then I started my pool and I got the pool list. And if I want to automatically start that, I can use the command virsh pool auto start and the pool name. That will automatically start the pool. How to create a virtual machine? First you need to create a XML file. VM is defined in XML file. Manual creation of VM is, first you need to create the disk, for example QEMU img create, and the directory name, the pool which you created, physical directory which you created. So QEMU img create VMS, the format file. This is actually VM creation XML file, which you will see in the next slide. So this file needs to be created. We are going to create a XML file here. Here it is, VM02 from XML, and this is the file we are going to define. Virsh define VM02 from XML. This file have reference to this image which will be used. So image, need to take note of this image, VM02 from XML.img 5 GB, and XML file which will be defining to create the machine in the next. And then you are going to create virtual machine by simply using the command virsh start and the file name like VM02 from XML. And what is that XML file? This is the XML file. Domain type KVM, VM02 from XML, the name given. UUID we don't know it. Memory 128 GB or 128 MB, sorry. Memory, okay. 2 CPU, architecture, then disk, the features. And the important point is the emulator, that is QEMU KVM. We have to specify the size, the disk type is file, device is disk, and the name of the file, name of the image file which I created in the previous slide can be specified like this, and rest of the details self-explanatory. And then you can run that command which has given in the previous slide to launch the machine using this virsh command. To list all the images, all the machines, you can use virsh list all. Let's try these commands, and we are going to create a snapshot also, virsh snapshot, and create a test for. Let's try these commands. Virsh list all. This will show all the 4 machines which are running right now. Now we can power off the machine and we can create a clone. Let's try. So this is the machine which can create the virt clone, test2 clone, and where you want to create the image. If I try, you will get the message that you cannot create the clone, the machine must be powered off. Domain must be switched off in order to create the clone. Alright, that's the important point. Now snapshot creation, you can do a snapshot creation also. So let's issue the snapshot creation. And this is the snapshot creation. Snapshot create. Let's create the snapshot, and this will create the snapshot of the machine. Where's snapshot create test4? It will create the snapshot of test4 virtual machine, and you will see the details of the snapshot. So this is the command to shut off the machine. You can do live migration also. So I just demonstrated this wish list all the machines were running. Snapshot create test4, you will get this type of message. Snapshot list, you can see the list of snapshots. And remember, snapshot is only applicable for QCOW2 images. If you want to do live migration from one hypervisor to another, you can specify the command. You can use the command wish migrate hyphen live guest name and then a remote location, remote machine name. QEMU. KVM itself cannot create virtual machine. It is just a hypervisor. Very interesting point. QEMU communicate via dev KVM. QEMU IMG is a command line utility to check, convert, create snapshot or info about the images, about the images being used by the machines. For example, you want the details about test4 QCOW2, right? This is a machine we launched and the default image was created here only. So we can see that, and it will give you this kind of message: image name, format, virtual size, disk size, actual size, cluster size, snapshot list, the snapshot we created, right? So we are going to create the snapshot and we are going to use the snapshot list, right? Let's try. Hope it is done now, and I'm just doing copy paste because I want to save time. I hope you will not mind it. Let me show you that. And snapshot created, and you will see the snapshot list now, and all the machine is also running, snapshot also running. Let me shut down the machine to save time now. This is my test2 machine, root, Red Hat, power off. So first machine gone, second machine. So this is my fourth machine coming up. Let me check another machine. So the test machine 2 is gone. This test virtual machine test4 is coming up. Let me switch off the machines. Root, Red Hat. This is my test3 machine, power off. And I can do these machines power off from here also. See, this machine is shut down, this machine is down, right? These two machines, test3 and test2, are off now. Let's shut down this machine, test1 also. This will shut down the machine. Test1 is also shut down, and we can shut down test4 also. So this way you can shut down the machine. Now let's continue. Snapshot list we have seen. Let's move on to the next part, next slide. Which was inspecting the images. This is what I wanted to inspect, because I'm using the same naming conventions, so I can exactly issue the same commands. Oh, what is the file name then? Virtual images. Yes, test4.img, because it will work on test3. Let me try with test3. Yes, and you see the details of test3, and this way you will get the details about the images using QEMU img command. You want to convert a raw disk to VMDK format, that's also supported. QEMU IMG command support a lot of options. QEMU IMG convert -o, that is output VMDK format, raw image and output image name. QEMU supported disk format, file format, QCOW2, cow, copy on write format, raw, VMDK, VDI. A lot of formats are supported by QEMU. Then VirtIO. It is full virtualization. Is a nice feature because it allows you to run any operating system virtualized. However, it is slow because hypervisor has to emulate actual physical devices. VirtIO drivers solve this. VirtIO drivers know that they run in virtualized environment. There is no emulation. So VirtIO drivers operate with hypervisor directly. And these are the command which I was working on. I demonstrated one of them right now. That is virt install, virt-install. The command that starts with virt. Virt viewer, virt clone, virt top. These are many commands starting with virt. And this is the command which I demonstrated, virtual machine installation. This is the I launched the fourth machine using this virt install option, and this command gives you how to create a virtual machine directly from command line using virt install. Virt-install. This is command line continuation. Don't get confused. This slash is for just to continue the command in the next line. Network bridge VIR-BR0, machine name test1, RAM 2048, CPU 1, disk path where the disk will be created, size 10 GB, and the CD-ROM, that CD-ROM ISO image where it is located. Second example is using a web server, not using the disk, using the server, web server. There I'm using location. The rest of the details are same, but I'm using -- location, and I specify server.example.com/inst because my web server is located here. I'm going to talk about this also because automated installation option, I will discuss all these features, but right now focus is getting virtual machines. Virt viewer, connect to virtual machine console with RDP, VNC or SPICE, any of the three methods. Default VNC port is 5900. Virt viewer you can directly use to connect. Let me show you. And which machine is running, because I need to have one machine running, and I will connect to that machine by specifying the name of the machine. Let me see which machine is running. Only fourth machine is running, so let's connect to the fourth machine. Yeah, this is fourth machine. So to connect to that machine, I use this and test 4, and this will start my emulator, and you see how quick it is, and I can log into the machine. So my all the 4 machines are up, and I'm able to connect using virt viewer to these machines. So this is virt viewer. Using virt viewer -c QEMU :/system and then machine name. Virt clone can be used to clone the machine, clone an existing virtual machine. Copy the disk images, define new machine based on the source, MAC address is auto generated. So therefore advantage use case is what? You can deploy many similar machines from one image. What does it mean? Means you create a machine, create a template, install required packages, and then if you want to create hundreds of machines using them, put this command in the script and then create those machines. And that's how beautiful it is. So virt clone -o test2 -n test2 clone, and this. Let's do this. In fact, let me show you, because I need to demonstrate this command clone also. Let's create the clone of test2, and I'm going to use the same thing because my test2 machine is down, and therefore it is okay. I will be able to create the clone of that machine. So paste will do the job. Virt clone output test2 -n test2 clone and file name where it will be created. So this will create the clone of my machine test2, and I'll have a second machine, the clone of test2 machine up and running. Virt top will show you the machine, the CPU of the machine. Virt top, you can see one machine running, 4 domains, 1 active, 1 running, 0 sleeping, 0 pause, 0 inactive. So it will show you the overall virtual machines on your hypervisor, all the machines. And you see if the machine 2 is up, it will show, and the clone and the rest of machine, which machines are off, you will get those details. So it will worth seeing that also. Let's see. Virt top, and you see in our case machine 4 is running, test1 and test2 and test2 clone all are down right now. Very interesting. Virtual Machine Manager, a GUI for Virts and Virt. And I created my first machine using this Virtual Machine Manager with a GUI. It runs only on Linux or Unix. Can discover machines running libvirtd or nodes. Local development testing is good use case. This is a screen grab of my test1, test2, test3, test4. You notice that all the machines were ready. I destroyed them. I created them quickly during this presentation also, so that you understand how easy it is. Then we have lib library guestfs tools, test tools to inspect the virtual machine images. No need to log in on the virtual machine itself. Can be run on an active virtual machine. Use case is, what if you just have an image? You cannot log into the machine. That is very interesting use case. You have the image of the machine. You are not able to log in because machine is not running. What would you like to know? What version of the package is installed? Or maybe generate list of all virtual machines, or maybe take the backup of home directory of that machine. Yes, the machine is not on. You just have the image of that machine, and you want to take the backup of some files from the machine which is not even running. That is a powerful tool, libguestfs tool, test tools. So lib, for example, lib inspector -d test3 domain test3, this is inspector. This will just give you the details. Inspecting an image, virt inspector, and give the name, image name, it will inspect you that. Directory df, that is total space details, virt df test3, it will give you that the disk of the machines, test3, right? So virt inspector, virt df, very interesting commands, worth trying. If you want to back up files from a virtual machine, you can use virt tar out -d domain name, which directory, and what is the extract file name. You want to create a backup from files on the disk image, virt tar out -a, the image name, which directory, which location, what file you want to create. That's a list libguestfs tools and the virt tar out command. This is all about this session. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.